Anyone who's ever done anything worth doing has dreamed big, failed mightily, and mostly started from humble beginnings. This is a podcast about such people. The most fascinating podcast in the world is fascinating because of the stories of the human beings. Hello, everybody. It's Pat DeCerbo. The most fascinating podcast in the world. It has nothing to do with me and everything to do with the people that agree to talk to me. Today we have Andrea Robinson. Andrea is someone that I have not known a long time, and we met quite randomly in an airport, traveling from Las Vegas, where neither of us spends much time, to Albany, New York. And we struck up a conversation, and I found out that Andrea is a professional, an athlete, a wife, a mother, a pilot, a long-distance hiker, which is the thing that interested me the most immediately. Also, a long-distance runner over the years, a marathoner. Is training for a marathon right now, and a great member of the community. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you.
My pleasure. As you know, I'm in the habit of asking people about their earliest memories, and although you've told me a lot about yourself, rather than me recite it, I was wondering if you could just talk about when you were a young child, your earliest memories growing up.
Okay. Well, I think I grew up in Montreal, youngest of 4 kids. Both of my parents had emigrated to Canada from England. And I would say the number one thing that stands out to me about my childhood was an incredible amount of freedom. My next oldest sister and I were very close, still are. And we spent a lot of time just exploring, and my parents never limited our explorations. So we would get on our bikes and just ride all over Montreal and go to parks. We wanted to go to every park if we could, which never happened, but we did hit up quite a few, and we played in the snow a lot, and it was a good childhood. I spent my summers in the Adirondack Mountains camping. My dad would drive us down at the beginning of the summer and leave my mom and us 4 kids there. And he would come down on the weekends, and he hiked with the Boy Scouts. My brother was a Boy Scout, and the rest of us would explore the Adirondacks and swim, and again, a lot of freedom to just do what we wanted, which probably made me into the explorer that I am now.
When you think in terms of Montreal, say when you were a child versus now, could you do the same thing today as a young child, or do you sense that it's different now, or some people think it's more dangerous now? I always wonder, is it the media or is it really more dangerous now?
I think traffic is probably more dangerous now. There are definitely a lot more people on the roads. I started off in the suburbs where we had a lot of open space, and we did end up moving downtown. By the time I ended up downtown, I was 12, so I was old enough to be more cautious, I guess. I do think today's kids don't have enough freedom to roam and do their own thing. I do think, though, when you go and visit a city, I notice in Boston, Montreal, Toronto, you do see kids out on their bicycles a lot more than I would right here in Albany. So I don't know if it's more of a city culture versus the suburbs. I don't know. But I do think parents are very overcautious now.
Interesting. I spent a lot of time in a lot of different cities, and I agree, like city kids, they tend to be a lot more autonomous, it seems. Even
Right,
walking to and from school as like a 10-year-old in Manhattan or something.
right.
Sometimes they're escorted, but other times they're not.
Yeah. And I
It's
know,
interesting.
I work in an elementary school, and we don't really allow children to walk to school. I don't know if the school feels that they need to be responsible for those children. I don't really know, but I think it's good for kids to be out there and make mistakes and learn from them and experience the world on their own without a parent standing there telling them how to experience it, I guess.
Me too. I walked a half mile each way to school as a kid, which is just about right. It was perfect. Got beat
Right. Yeah,
up.
me too. I
Got beat
walked.
up. You walked as well?
Yeah, and I do remember we had a lot of snowstorms in Montreal, and our school, we were actually two houses down from the 1 mile cutoff. So our
Mm.
good friends who lived two houses down got the bus, which we were very jealous about because we had to walk. And Montreal in the early to middle 70s got a lot of snow and it was very cold. And so all winter long, we walked to school. My sister Paige was in charge of us and a multitude of other kids to get us there and back. And one May, there was a huge snowstorm, and I believe the folks at the school told Paige, here's these 12 kids. You got to make sure they get home to your street. And we walked home in a pretty bad snowstorm.
You wouldn't see that as readily today, would you?
No. Well, I don't think there would be school on a snow day, but
Mm-hmm.
we didn't get snow days. There's no such thing.
Mm-hmm. So you went to elementary school when you were 5, 6, and so on, and then you moved into the city after that? Or were you
I
referring to the
actually
city?
I grew up in Brossard, which is on the south
Mm-hmm.
shore of Montreal across the river. And then
Mm-hmm.
from there, we actually moved to the West Island, which when I was a kid, it seemed like it was 100 miles away, but I think it's only about 6 miles west of Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
And lived there for a few years. And then we moved downtown. And we were right in Westmount, a mile from the Forum, which was an amazing place to be a young teenager. Watched a lot of hockey games and just it was just a great place to live. And from there,
Mm-hmm.
I moved to Toronto.
Mm-hmm. How old were you then?
10th grade, I was 15. And then stayed in Toronto until I got married.
What was Toronto like?
It was nice. It was definitely a bit of an adjustment moving from Montreal to Toronto. They're very different cities. Um, I was a big hockey fan, so there's a big rivalry between Montreal and Toronto. But I had a nice high school, and we lived in a really nice area down in the beaches. So again, a lot of freedom to do whatever we wanted. Got a job and hung out with friends like all the other teenagers. Got into some sports, and yeah, it was good. It's not a great
Mm-hmm.
city now, though.
No.
It's just very, very crowded, and
Okay.
it's gone through a lot of growing pains in the last 20 years.
Okay. And you're just back from there.
Yes, I went up. I have a Canadian band that I really like, so my husband and I go up and try to see them every summer. So we saw them Saturday and saw my brother and my dad, some friends.
And it was
Try to
too
get up there.
crowded?
It's very crowded. I feel like it didn't used to be that way, but I was also younger when I was there, so your perceptions change too. But it has grown a lot. I think when I moved there was 1 million people, and now there's probably 5 or more million. So it's grown a lot.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's funny, I say where you and I live, we believe in high taxes and negative population growth, but
Right.
there are benefits to that.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
cheap
I
to
mean,
relatively cheap to live, and there's no traffic.
right. Yeah, there's definitely a positive to less traffic because it can take a couple of hours to get from Niagara Falls into Toronto on the QEW,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just really not a great way to spend your time.
Yep. It's a good test for patience, I suppose.
Yeah. And my husband and I talk about, you know, retiring to a city all the time, and then we go to a city and then we say, well, you know what? Maybe I don't want to live in a city because we get spoiled here. I never have traffic here.
Agreed. That's why I brought it up. I feel like if you can have, like where I live in Niskayuna, like you can, from my house, it's probably 2 miles to walk, but uh, Upper Union Street is great. And if I wanted to be nearer that, I could be and still have a fair amount of privacy. I could probably be a quarter mile or a half a mile from there. And I imagine you could do that where you live as well if you wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just south of Albany and I run in the mornings, and I like that I can run 3 miles from my house and there's a farm. And
Mm-hmm.
yet Albany is only 2.5 miles up the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's neat. So you decided to go to college. Where did you go to college?
I started off in Toronto
Mm-hmm.
and in nursing school, and then I met my husband, and he's American. So when we decided to get married, we thought that we would both apply, see if we could emigrate. And my offer to come to the United States came pretty quickly. And so I just transferred to nursing school in Syracuse when we moved
Mm-hmm.
to finish up. So I'm a nurse. And then I went to SUNY years later, part time, got my bachelor's degree.
Okay. So what I was hoping to talk to you about, which you and I've covered a little bit, is in spite of what I said before, I'm going to recite some of your achievements. Um, and you've done the entire Appalachian Trail. Um, you've done, I think, the entire Continental Divide Trail,
Mhm. Yep,
and you're piecemealing the Pacific Coast Trail.
right.
And I'm sure you've done lots of other hikes, but um, you told me a little bit about how you got started and how young your kids were, and you said one of them was 5 or something, and you took him on his first hike. So how did you get the bug for hiking, and when
Well,
did it start?
we when I was a child, spent a lot of time in the Adirondacks, and my dad hiked with the Boy Scouts, and I don't know if it had anything to do with my present love of hiking, but I was never invited to go with the Boy Scouts. My dad did take me up a high peak when I was 7 or 8, and it was hard, but I remember just being amazed by the view and how beautiful it was. And then there was quite a few years that I didn't really hike. We moved, we stopped going camping in the summers. And then when my oldest son was 5, my sister and I decided to go camping in the Adirondacks and try out a high peak. And so we took him up a high peak, and he did really well. He had a lot of energy. He actually did better than we did. And so we returned a couple of times over a few years, and then got in. It just got busy, had more kids, and didn't hike for a while. But then a few years later, when I was living in Syracuse, I picked up a book at the library about the Long Trail in Vermont, and I had never heard
Hmm.
of it. And so I decided that my son and I should try backpacking. Had never been backpacking. So my husband dropped us off on the trail, and we went north in Vermont. And the plan was to do about 50 miles over 5 days. I wasn't really sure how many miles we could do. We definitely had a lot of stuff that we didn't need. We met a couple of young people who we really liked, and we spent the evening with them, and they gave us all kinds of tips and tricks. And one of them was a young woman who was hiking on the Appalachian Trail. And I think as soon as she told me there was this trail that went for 2,500 miles from Georgia to Maine, I think all kinds of fireworks went off in my head, and I was just wowed by it, thinking, wow, that would be what an adventure that would be to walk for 2,500 miles. So, um, my son and I finished our 5 day trip. We learned a lot. We did it for a few more summers and started working our way through Vermont. And I did get a couple of books about the Appalachian Trail and started reading about it. And my in-laws were living in New Hampshire at the time, and we were in Syracuse. So we would drive down the highway, and I kept on seeing that sign for the Appalachian Trail, like it was calling to me. And so I gave up on the long trail and started chipping away, just a day here, a weekend there on the Appalachian Trail. And then every Thanksgiving and April break that I could get away, I kind of volunteered one of my three kids to go with me and started chipping away at the Appalachian Trail. Um, and then the last summer, which was 2019, I decided I wanted to finish it. And so I did the 500 miles that I had in the south part, and then the 500 miles that I had in the top part to finish it. And so that was the AT, and I kind of thought that my long distance backpacking days were done. That's what I set out to, that's what I wanted to do, and it was done. But my daughter was working part-time at REI in Boston when she was in college.
Can I
And
stop you for a moment?
yeah,
Are you there? What, when you're out on the trail, like how long are you out there for? Like
well,
a week at a time or
originally I would go
meaning
for a
before,
week.
okay. And you reprovision or you stop every day? For me and everyone else who may not know, like you have a pack of stuff and how often do you get more stuff and you sleep outside or you sleep in a tent or in a lean-to or
I do. Well, on the Appalachian Trail, you can sleep in lean-tos because they have them every 8 to 10 miles. It is the only
mm-hmm.
trail that really has lean-tos, though. So I generally sleep in a tent. I bring a stove, a water filter, and um, if I'm going to be out for more than a week, I do resupply. I like to mail myself food because I like to eat what I like to eat, I guess. And I
Mm-hmm.
like to know that I can get it. But also you can resupply in towns. Some trails, the towns are more accessible than others. On the CDT, for example, a lot of times you have to hitchhike 25 to 30 miles to get to a town for resupply. But it's actually not as hard as it sounds because when you're in those towns that are close to the trail, they're very familiar with hikers. They see somebody with a backpack and they know they're going into town or back to the trail. So that's how you resupply.
Mm-hmm. So you sleep in a tent. How much does a stove weigh?
My stove weighs less than an ounce.
Oh my
It's very
gosh.
small.
So it's
Yeah,
not
the
like
stove
my
itself.
Viking.
No, No, I mean my original stove was probably 4 pounds. It was pretty big, and the fuel was liquid fuel.
Hmm.
But now the fuel canisters, they're about this round and this high. The
Hmm.
fuel probably weighs 6 ounces, I'm going to say. My stove is about this big. I mean, it's very small, doesn't weigh anything.
Hmm.
And I have a water filter, it doesn't weigh anything either, a couple of ounces. Everything has gotten lighter. When I
Hmm.
first started backpacking, I had a man's backpack, a Kelty pack, because they didn't really have women's packs. It was huge. I'm only 5'4", so I really need a smaller pack.
Hmm.
But now there's a lot of women's packs, so now I have a really nice Osprey pack. Doesn't It only weighs a couple of pounds.
And you sleep on the ground?
I do sleep on the ground. I have again, mattresses have gotten a lot better over the years. So originally we just had a thin foam, which was fine when I was in my 20s and 30s, but now that I'm getting near 60, I want something a little plusher. So I
Hmm.
have a Nemo blow up mattress. It's a couple inches thick. It's pretty comfortable.
And how do you blow it up? Do you have like a foot pump or something, or?
The one that I have now actually comes with a bag. It's kind of like a balloon, I guess, and you attach it to the mattress and you just blow into it and it fills up, and then you roll it and it fills the mattress. So the mattress I have right now is very easy to blow up. I did have one for quite a few years that you had to like put one hand on and then the other hand, it was like doing CPR on it, and it took a
Hmm.
long time to blow up. So I was happy to not use that one anymore.
Hmm. I bet. But once you buy a piece of equipment, you kind of commit to it, right? You hate to throw it
Yes,
away.
right.
Feels like quitting to get rid of it.
I do. I mean, I have 40 years of backpacking stuff in my basement that I keep saying I'm going to clear out, but it is hard to get rid of it until something
Yeah,
falls apart and it's not usable anymore. I feel like you always think that you might want to use it one day.
no doubt. So, what's the longest you've gone on the trail without reprovisioning? Just walk straight and not.
I have done some 9-day stretches a couple of times. I did the Northville Placid Trail, which is 9 day, took me 9 days, and I didn't resupply. And then on the CDT, I did a 9-day stretch. And then uh, last summer on the PCT, going through the Sierras, I did a 9-day stretch. But I did promise myself last year that I would never do that again because it's just too much weight, and it just takes a lot more out of you to carry that much weight.
Mm.
So now I try to stick to 5 to 7 days.
So interesting. Because I've never done it. And I think of, you have to be able to carry enough
Right.
fuel, literally and figuratively, food plus fuel for your stove and all the
Yeah.
little things like to live out of a tiny pack for nine
It can
days.
be it can be a lot, but I I feel like you get used to it I feel like I get used to it fairly quickly. Even when my pack is
Mm.
really heavy, the first day it seems hard, and getting it on and off is difficult because it could weigh 50 pounds at the start of a hike. But as you go, you get stronger, it gets lighter. So I don't know. I just get used to it.
Hmm.
I know there's a lot of people out there who like to hike ultralight and they don't bring they don't bring anything of comfort whatsoever. That's just not my way. I want to have a book. I like knowing that when I get into my sleeping bag, I'm going to be warm and comfortable, and I don't want to be hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm willing to carry it, I guess.
Gotcha. Um, what else can we say about these long distance hikes? Like you and I talked about so many interesting things. Like some people hear you talk about it and they say, well, what about your family? Like, and your husband lets you do that? And what about the sort of the thinking about these things for people that don't do it, which is, I think, most people.
Right.
um, how do people
I
think
think
about it? How do you think about it?
I think if you have never been exposed to camping, it probably seems like a monumentous task, I guess. But I don't know, once you get out there, you learn pretty quickly. It's a very tight-knit community, and backpackers really help each other. They're all out there doing the same thing, maybe for different reasons, but we're all like-minded at the end of the day because you're doing this uncomfortable thing every day on purpose, which does seem a little bit crazy sometimes. Um, I do know a lot of people say, I can't do it because of work. I can't do it because of my family. I didn't do a lot of long backpacking trips when my kids were younger for that reason, because I wouldn't have been able to leave home for weeks at a time. My husband works. Um, but I feel like it's good for you. I mean, it's good for me. I think when I came home from the CDT, my husband felt like it was too long to be gone. I was gone for 139 days, which is definitely a while to be gone. Um, so I won't do another 5-month trip for sure. But I do think for me, I like backpacking. I enjoy it. I like the challenge, and it's good for my mental health. So I
So
think it's good for everybody's.
what was that conversation with him like? Like, was he like, did he resent it? Was he angry? Was he
Um,
hurt?
Maybe a little bit. He's not a camper. He's not a hiker. I mean, he likes watching sports. Um, but I don't think if you don't backpack, I think it's hard to understand the desire, the need to be out there doing it. Um, I do think being gone for 5 months in a marriage, that is a long time for your partner to be away. I understand that,
Mm.
which is why I said that I won't through hike again. I actually, when I got home from the CDT, I never really thought I'd be interested in backpacking again, but summer came around again and I wanted to be back out there. So, um, but I won't go for 5 months again.
Hmm. So what is it? Like, can you put it into words what the lure of the trail is?
I think it's a couple of things. I definitely like a physical challenge. I'm a marathon runner. I like pushing myself and knowing that when I think I'm done, I always have more. Um, I think the freedom of being out there for me, the freedom of having that backpack and knowing I can just stop here and set up my tent and watch the sun go down right here if I want. It's so liberating and freeing to just have that freedom. And there's just nothing like it. And when you're on these long trails, a lot of long trails, you can stop and camp wherever you want. I mean, there are some limitations in national parks and private property or towns or whatnot, but for the most part, you can camp wherever you want as long as you take all of your garbage with you when you leave in the morning. And there's just no feeling like that. When I put that backpack on, I just feel like I own the world and I can just go wherever I want. It's kind of cool.
Hmm. It's interesting. Like I don't do it, but I have other versions of that. I'll ride 100 miles on my bike like I did on Sunday. And there's something freeing about that too. You're kind of unmoored. And I feel like my soul somehow wants to be unmoored, free of duty, free of burden, free of all those things that society puts that we need to adhere to be in society.
Right,
But on the other hand, it's a paradox because in and of itself, it is a duty and a burden to hike for 500 miles or 1,000 miles or bike for 100 miles in a day. Um,
right,
and so it's ironic to me, like I do hard things, or you do hard things, we do hard things as a form of almost rebellion or a show of independence, and to reject society and structure in a way, but in our own way we're recreating it because we create a different structure and a
right,
different set of norms. You're trading the norm of going to work and driving a car and being in a town and so on and so forth for the community of hikers, and then you cooperate in different ways with the hikers and help each other. And it's funny to me. I mean, I think about this stuff all the time, and how I think I want to get away from something. And then you and I have talked about this, but Sisyphus, like having the burden in and of itself is the freedom in the end for me, because
right,
if I do hard things wherever they are, whether it's on my bike or running, or in your case on the trail, or if it's in a work setting, it's all hard. And in the end, you say you like to do hard physical things, but in the end, for me, it's all mental. I mean, it's physical because I have to do the hard physical thing, but it's basically a mental exercise to see
right,
if I can do the hard thing.
right.
So it's really interesting to think about it. And you've done it routinely, but it never gets easy. And the one thing you said today, among others, you said so many interesting things, but one thing you said that really resonated with me was when you put the pack back on for the first time, and how heavy it is, and how that's true of so many things when you're not doing them habitually. And you say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this thing. I've done it 1,000 times, but you're a runner. So if I haven't run in 6 months and I decide I'm going to go out and run 10 miles, I'm like, oh my gosh, it feels like I've never run before. I don't think I can do this. And then, of course, a couple miles in, you develop a rhythm, and the body knows, the body remembers. And it's
Right.
fascinating.
Well, and
I know I'm off
some
on a tangent.
I think
Mm,
I think that's the difference between an athlete who can keep it up for hours and hours and hours and somebody who doesn't or tries it and says that it's too hard, is that if you're an endurance person, you're able to do the physical until you can't, and then the mental part kicks in and it carries you through the rest of it. I mean, there are definitely times when I'm running when I think I can't go any further. I'm tired, my legs hurt or whatever. Same with backpacking, my back hurts and my feet hurt. But then the mental part always kicks in and says, knock it off. Of course you can. You have a lot more in you. You can go a lot further. And I can always go further. I mean, until I literally drop, there's
right.
always more.
I remember reading this David Goggins book. Do you know who he is?
I don't think so.
So he's he grew up in Buffalo. He was a had a bad childhood. I don't know if abuse is the right word, but it occurred to me, or it seemed to me, in what he wrote. And I've heard him talk a bunch of times. But at, he was a Navy SEAL. He's done lots of different things. But he did this 200-mile run, and he was saying how at mile 100, he couldn't go another step. But somehow he reached down and he said, "You have no idea what your reserves are." And I've heard a lot of people say it, but he was saying how all his toenails fell off and all this other stuff. And I was thinking, that sounds real, even for me, who likes to do crazy stuff, lots of Ironmans and whatnot. I said, that sounds really unpleasant. I don't think I'm going to do a 200-mile run.
Right.
but, um, but it's funny because when you talk about this, like when I do the marathon and the Ironmans, like this idea of just not giving up, just keeping moving. Like in the beginning, after getting off the bike, which is 112 miles, my butt hurts, everything hurts. I just want to throw the bike in the garbage. And I don't think I can run a step. And then, of course, I run 100 yards, and then I maybe get a drink of water. And then I walk and I run, and my heart rate spikes. And I say, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this because my heart rate is spiking. This is different from the last time. And at this point, I can quiet my mind a little bit and say, it's like it always is. This is the way it always is.
Right.
And I walk around, walk around, walk around, walk around. And by mile 3, my body remembers. And between mile 3 and mile 5, I start to get some rhythm and some momentum. And by mile 5, I'm usually running. And I'm running,
Yeah.
9-minute miles. And maybe I'm running 10-minute miles, but I used to run 9-minute miles or 8.5. And plus, that's with stops too. So it's probably 8.5. And I'm developing a rhythm. And I remember running in the Ironman in Montreal. It's called Mont Tremblant Ironman. And I think I did the marathon in a little over 4 hours, which isn't that fast. But when you think about it,
That's great,
like
though.
it's not slow either. And I just got this rhythm going. And for me, that was a great marathon and a great experience because I really was moving. And just, it's a testament for anybody, I think. Like when they're faced with that, Goggins being probably an outlier example, or all these adventure people. Did I ever send you that book, Points Unknown?
No.
Oh, I can't believe I haven't sent you that. I'll send it to you. But just, in a hike or an Ironman, it's one thing because at some level where the end is. It's not ambiguous. You kind of know you're going to have all this adversity. But in this book, it talks about all these explorers who there's all these unknowns. They don't know. They don't know distances accurately. They don't even know if they're going in the right direction sometimes. There's ocean going expeditions. There's Antarctic. There's Arctic. There's all kinds of stuff. And some people live and some don't. Some of the accounts are from people's journals. Sometimes the people survive and write about it after. I mean, it's just fascinating. I think you'd love it. But I
I
think of
do
all
read
of life. Pardon me.
Sorry, I was going to say I do read a lot of books about people who go on these crazy adventures
You're going to
and
love
have
this
no
book.
idea. Yeah, I definitely would like to read
I'm
it.
going to give it to you.
All right.
That's my thing, books. I'm going to send it to you. But, and for anyone who's listening who hasn't read Points Unknown, it's a series of short stories, probably 20 or 30 by people like John Krakauer and Shackleton and, other people that have, there's a big difference between those two people. There's lots of good writing. My favorite story takes place in Arizona, and this guy goes hiking, and he starts later than he knows is safe, and he hikes to a place where he wants to get to, and then he has a choice of how he's going to go down. He can go down the way that's known, and it's going to be a little risky because it's going to be dark, and he doesn't have a light, and it's going to be a little dangerous, and it's longer, or he can go up and over. And he decides to take the shortcut. And what happens, it just makes my skin crawl to think of it. Like I have to, but I can't in various circumstances. And and he talks about the emotional roller coaster of knowing he's going to die and crying and bargaining and everything that happens. And then he stops crying and he just starts trying to do things. And that's kind of where I was going when we were talking before about like a lot of the people who quit, like early in a run or a hike or anything, like they never get that rhythm that I was talking about.
Right. So
So
my
they
dad
really
was a
never know.
marathon. My dad
Hmm.
was a big marathon runner. And when I ran a little bit when I was a teenager and, in fits and starts when I was a young adult. I only really took up running because I wanted to stay fit during the winter for backpacking.
Hmm.
And so my husband had a friend who lived in New York City who was a runner, and he persuaded me to. Well, I ran a 5K, which I thought was horrible. I was slow and it was just uncomfortable. And so my dad said, every time you go for a run, if you're a beginner runner, a marathon runner, ultra runner, doesn't matter. The first 2 miles, they're horrible. They're always horrible. You're trying to get into your rhythm, your heart rate's all over the place. Once you pass that 2 miles and you get into a rhythm, from 2 to 20, it's all physical. It's all your training. Your muscles have plenty of energy to get you through 20 miles. Once you get to 20, it's all in your head. From 20 to 26.2, it's just your mind arguing, I can do it, I can't. I can do it, I can't. So I think about that a lot. I just finished reading a book about a guy who walked across Antarctica trying to beat the record, I guess. And he he kind of said that in a similar way, that the first day he wanted to quit, it was horrible. And then he got into a rhythm and he found his place, and he just kept on pushing through. And I feel like everything in life is like that. Life is hard. And so you just got to get through those first 2 miles, and then you get your rhythm and you figure it out.
So I ran cross country and track in high school and college. And there was this kid from Guilderland I went to college with. His name is Jim LeBrew, and he's a lawyer in Albany. And I don't see him much, but he's one of my favorite people. And we used to run together all the time. We've done a couple marathons together. And one time I dropped out of a race in Schenectady called the Stockadathon, which is a
Oh, yeah.
15K.
Yeah.
And it's a great race. And I love the race. And I've had probably my best experience ever was in that race when I was 18. I just ran a time that was super fast and beat a lot of people that I had no business beating. But the next year, I went out late and I was drinking and freshman at Union College, and I dropped out of the race. And Jim asked me, he was very enthusiastic. He said, how was the Stockadathon? How'd you do? And I said, I dropped out. And he said, oh, he's like, be careful. He said, because in every race, there comes a time when you want to drop out. And quitting is a habit. And so is not quitting. And I was like, whoa. Even at 19 years old, that made a huge impression on me. He's like, think
Right.
about it. Every race, there's a point where you just want to say, screw it. I'm out of here. I'm done. And I literally said, screw it. As the race went by the college, I just dropped out and walked to my dorm. And
Well,
I
it's
remember the
it's
feeling like it was yesterday,
yeah, it's
like,
easy to do that.
but
Or hard.
hard for the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah.
even now, I mean, I'm not like super ashamed of it. Like, I don't think I'm a worthless person because of it, but I have a little bit of shame, like a nagging bit of shame. And I've dropped out
Right.
of one half Ironman and I dropped out of one full Ironman. And in each case, people say, what was it? What was it that made you drop out? And they're expecting heat or wind or cramps or something. Who knows? And it's none of those things. It's just a bad attitude. I
Right.
dropped out because I quit because I had a bad attitude. And I easily could have finished. I've done much harder races and not quit. And so I think those are the only three I've quit, and out of hundreds and hundreds of competitions, but I remember them very keenly. Each
Right.
one. I could tell you when I quit, where I quit. I can remember what I was thinking. In the Ironman, it was substitute for Kona. Remember, they canceled it a bunch of times because of COVID, and they eventually decided to have it in St. George, Utah. And it was hot. It was 100 degrees. It was very hilly. It was extremely windy. I was having trouble keeping my wheel on the ground because you have these big wheels that are like to make you go faster. They have like panels in the wheels.
Right.
And it was brutal. And the sag wagon came by. I was like at mile 100. I only had 12 miles to go. And the sag wagon came by, and the guy looks at me, and I looked at him. It's like we were long lost friends. I said, I'll get on there. And he said, are you sure? He said, because if you do, you're going to regret it. And I said, I don't care. I'm done. And then I regretted it. The minute I sat in his truck, I was like, why am I doing
Right.
this? And then he wouldn't let me. He said, no, once you get in the truck, you can't get out. I guess that's a
Right.
rule. I don't know. But I just feel like if I quit early, like you were saying about people, and it's a metaphor for all of life, right? It doesn't matter what you're
Yeah.
doing. Speaking of which, you wanted to get your pilot's license for years and years and years. And then I mentioned COVID, so you might as well. Please tell us about that.
So I was obsessed with airplanes. I think the first time I looked in the sky and saw one, I always wanted to fly. And when I was a little kid, I used to lie in the driveway and watch the airplanes flying overhead, and I always thought, oh, one day I want to be able to do that. And it was not attainable when I was younger. I went and I tried to join the Air Force after high school because I wanted to be a pilot, and the guy was like, "We don't have a program for women to fly airplanes in the Air Force, and I don't have 20/20 vision." And so I kind of gave up on it and thought, that's just not something I'm going to be able to do. Out of all the things that I want to do, this is one I'm just not gonna. It's not going to happen.
You would have been
And
perfect at 5'4", right?
yeah, right. I mean, I'm not heavy.
No.
um, so my youngest son is a hockey player, and in high school, a couple of the dads were pilots. One of them was a professional pilot, and the other one has his private pilot license. And so I would chat with them about flying. And the guy with his private pilot's license, Tom Besh, was saying that he flew out of South Albany, which is right near my house. And he said, you can just do the class online, the paper part of the learning. You just get the books and you just study at home and you do the test, and then you have to spend X many hours flying with an instructor, and you just get your license. And he made it sound so easy. And so we talked multiple times. He gave me the name of the flight school, and it was kind of, itching at me. And then COVID happened. And so I had a little extra time on my hands, and I was working part-time at a local nursing home, helping them out because they were desperate for nurses. So I was making a little bit of extra money, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to look into it and see what's really involved. And so I went and I did my first initial flight and loved it, and was 120% committed after that to get my pilot's license. So I got all the books and started studying during COVID, and
Was it
and
hard?
started.
How would you
Yeah,
describe
it
the
was
study?
incredibly hard. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's a lot of information, um, and a lot of reading and learning about stuff that I really have no previous knowledge about. The very first engine I ever looked at in my entire life was the airplane engine. I don't look at my car
Mm-hmm.
engine. I don't change my own oil. Um, it was a lot. It was a lot for me. I'm not going to lie. It was a lot of studying and watching videos and just trying to cram all this information into my head. And even the skill of flying, learning to fly, I think when you're in your 50s is a challenge. And but my flight instructor was extremely patient, and just, really took his time explaining things to me, answered all of my questions. And I finally got my pilot's license in It'll be 4 years. So in 2021. And even now, as soon as that airplane leaves the ground, in my head, I think, I can't believe I can do this. I can't believe I actually made this happen. This was the ice cream on top of the ice cream on top of the ice cream of life's cake. It's just amazing. So yeah, I got my pilot's license. Now I'm working on my instrument rating. Also difficult, but will be worth it.
That was a great line you just had. The ice cream on top of the ice cream on top of the ice cream on top of the cake.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, it's just,
really neat.
it's such a great, and I do think everybody has those things in their life that they really, really want to do, or, climbing Mount Everest or sailing a sailboat, or I don't know, whatever it is. I don't know. We only get one shot, so you got to try to do all the things you want to do if you can.
I agree. And I think the small things are like for most people doing the kind of things that you do, it's too big to think about. It's too big for me to
Right.
think about, and I do big things, right? But like every time I think about the possibility of doing an Ironman or even that bike ride on Sunday. Like I rode from my house in Niskayuna to Galway and then from Galway to Cooperstown. And like that's insane. Like
Yeah, that's a long bike ride.
there was no logic to it or any, any normal person would say, is your car broken or and but it was great and in the end. But I lost my sense of humor around 65 miles. My butt hurt, everything hurt. My
Right.
hands, my butt, everything. But I got through it. But doing small things, I think, like just getting outside today. There's so many people, lack of exercise, poor diet. I mean, we just getting out and in the sunshine and breathing air. Like we have a cat. We have three cats, unfortunately, or fortunately. They're growing on me. But this cat, her name is Smokey, and she used to live in a friend's basement, and the husband hated the cat. And I don't know why, but seems like a nice cat to me. But it was kind of like this malign member of the family. And somehow we ended up adopting it. The mother was a babysitter for my kids when they were little, and we stay in touch with this woman. And so she said, we had this cat. My husband hates the cat, and my two daughters are like, "Oh, we'll take the cat." And so we get this cat, and the cat's like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years old, and she has kidney failure, and she's got all these other problems and stuff like that. And so she should be dead, long dead by now. But we started letting her go outside and we started feeding her this slightly different diet. But we don't think it's the diet. We think it's her going outside. She runs around, she lays in the sun for hours at a time. And I think vitamin D and other vitamins that the sun has, and being outside in the dirt and rolling around and running with the other cat. I mean, I think that is what kept her alive. She's like a new cat. She doesn't look like
Yeah.
she's going to die. Not to me, at least. I mean, she'll die
I
of
do
old
think,
age. I mean, I'm
right.
sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's inevitable. I do think that a lot when I'm at work, that the number of children who have anxiety and um, just mental health issues, part of it is most definitely that they don't spend any time outside. A lot of kids today spend hardly no time outside at all. And I don't know, there's just something very freeing about being outside. And you don't have to go that far either. Sometimes, I get home from work, I'm feeling a little squirrely from being stuck inside all day, and I just go for a walk in my neighborhood and I feel much better. And I think we need to get back to that where we spend a lot more time outside enjoying the trees and whatnot. It's good for us.
would have laughed in your face if you told me that 10 years ago or 20 years ago. You know, my wife would ask me to go for a walk, and she's a very nice person, and it's not a big request. And I'd be like, what? You know, I'm a man. I don't go for walks, you know, that kind of thing. And like last night we went for like a 1 mile walk. You know, we walked like sort of straight line through the development and out to a main road, which is risky to walk on, I think. But of course, I'll ride my bike on the main road. But in any
Right.
event, we walked a mile after dinner, and there's something therapeutic about it. It's, I don't know, in every way. I don't know if it's the air. I don't know if it's because I'm moving. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, I don't
everything
either.
seems better. And
Yep.
people who aren't getting that, of course, it's really sad when it's children, but it's so many people just inside watching TV. We're eating bad food. You know, I go to
Right.
these convenience stores when I ride my bike, and they shall remain nameless. I will not disclose the name of the store because I don't want to offend anyone. But you go into these stores, you know, coffee shop kind of things, but not the ones run by like people you know, big chains. And there's like nothing you can eat in there.
Right.
Like everything's a processed food. Like
Yeah.
thankfully in this one store there's bananas and apples, and I eat those. um, like I feel like everything's in a colorful package and it's just mixed in some vat and then poured in a mold, and then you're supposed to eat
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. A lot of fat and a lot of sugar. And I mean, food, it does take a little bit more time to make good food, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's more expensive. I mean, eating out is
Mm-mm.
very expensive, and fast food is extremely expensive. Um, with a little imagination, you know, you can cook really good food for not a lot of money, but it does take a little bit more time because you have to cut things and chop them and slice them and whatnot. But our diets are terrible. Again, I work in an elementary school and I see what people eat, and it's not good.
No.
And I definitely, you know, I love cake. I love ice cream, but there's a time and a place for cake and ice cream and other junk foods, and it shouldn't be a staple in anybody's diet.
No. I mean, I will tell you, I cannot safely eat like Doritos or potato chips or anything like that because I will eat the whole bag.
Well,
It,
that's
you know,
why I
just
hike.
but I feel like there's no place for that. It's like Doritos, like I don't mean to be unkind to the Dorito people, but there's nothing redeeming in that bag of
No,
chips for me.
right,
Potato chips, maybe, you know, but then it's debatable. The canola oil, is that going to kill me and turn into some kind of crazy fat that I never
right.
anticipated and don't understand? And then, you know, I listen to all these people talk on their podcasts, like Peter Attia and other doctors, and I'm terrified. I can only eat bananas and red meat and vegetables and fruit. That's it. I mean,
Right,
and there's something like in me that feels sad about that because I want to eat the Doritos, but
right.
they're,
Me
I
too.
mean, they're pretty toxic in the end, in my opinion. You know.
I have the same. I have like I have a little bit of guilt that I eat healthy. Like I feel like I need to eat healthy, and there's a part of me that wants to eat bad food, but then when I eat it, I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel good. So,
No,
and I
but isn't
think
it true of all bad things? Like if you drink a
yes,
bottle of whiskey, you're gonna feel bad.
right. I mean, it
You
might
eat
taste
bad
good in the
food.
moment, but probably won't taste good later or feel good later. But I do think sugar is addicting. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
eat something sugary for a couple of days. I have this when I'm backpacking. I eat a lot of
Mm.
sugary stuff because you need the energy and you need to eat a lot of calories. And so I eat a lot of junk food. And then when I come home, it's like I have to detox for a week
Mm-hmm.
because my body's craving all this garbage.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I get rid of
And
it, I'm
you're
happy.
ravenous. Like if
Right.
someone gets between you and that trail mix, they're going
That's
down.
right. Yeah. Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah,
So
I
what's
know.
next for you? Do you have any?
Well, I definitely want to finish the PCT.
Mm,
I have 1,000 miles of it done, and so I'll head out there the next 2 summers, hopefully, and finish that up. I have 200 miles in the desert, so I'll have to do that in the winter, or April or something at some point. And so I'll finish the PCT. I don't know. There's a lot of other hikes out there. I did try to hike the Kentucky Sheltowee Trace this summer, and it was in July when the constant rain was hitting that part of the country and there was flooding and it was terrible. So after 3 days, I actually came home. So I didn't do a long hike this summer, but I did hike in California for 3 weeks in April.
that's
So
when
I'll
I met
finish the
you.
PCT. Pardon?
That's when I met you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll finish the PCT, and I don't know. There's a lot of other trails. There's a trail that goes through South Dakota that I'm very interested in. Once I retire, hopefully I'll still be able to hike. I'd like to hike the Arizona Trail,
Mm,
and I don't know. We'll keep on going as long as I can.
mm-hmm.
I'm finishing my instrument rating on my airplane, so I'll be able to fly in the clouds. I'll get that finished in the next few months, and then I'm running a
Interesting.
marathon in November.
Which marathon is it?
Oh, Philadelphia.
How do you feel about your training?
You know what? So far, so good. I haven't run a marathon since before COVID, and my youngest son recently took up running and said that he was going to run the half marathon. So I said, you know what? Maybe I'll run the full marathon. So I signed up. Now, of course, he is injured, so he might not run the half, but I'm enjoying my training right now, so I'll just keep going. It does feel good after not running long distances for 5 years. So we'll see. I'm still trying for the illustrious Boston time. I've qualified a few times, but still not made the cutoff. So I always have that in my head. That might be the one thing that I can't actually manage.
I feel like if you hang in there, eventually you outlast everyone. You might be 80, but you'll get in.
True, true. I keep moving into a higher age bracket, so maybe I might
Well, it's
outrun everybody else.
it's kind of like life expectancy. The longer you live, the longer your life expectancy is, you know.
True,
And a lot of
true.
other people go by the wayside.
Right.
Um, so the pool is definitely narrowing
Yes.
or getting smaller.
Yeah, with every passing year.
So is there anything we're leaving out? Anything you might like to talk about or say or ask me or
I mean, I think we have a very similar mindset. I think if anybody is listening and they have something that they're thinking they would like to do or like to try, but they're afraid they're not going to be able to do it, do it when nobody's looking and keep at it until you figure it out. I think we can all do hard things, and everybody has something they want to try or do.
so I think I mentioned to you I don't drink alcohol and I go to AA. And one thing they say in AA is if you want self-esteem, you have to do estimable things, which is kind of a funny word, but that's the word they use. And an estimable thing is like a contribution. It's like doing something for another person. That's kind of what they mean. But that person could be you. And for me, like doing things for me, I'm like the most selfish person you'll ever meet in your life. But the reason is because I'm better for everyone else when I'm better for me. In other words, if I do all the prerequisites I need so I can be a socially acceptable human being, I'm better for everyone. And
Right.
I think not a lot of us do that. There's a lot of guilt and shame, like around, like, I need to do this for other people or for society or for this or that before I do things for myself. And the paradox of it is, if we do things for ourselves first, I think we're better for society and our families and everything. In other words,
Right.
I'm no good to anyone if I'm overweight and I'm going to die early. I'm no good to my family. I'm no good to my employer, my spouse, or whoever, friends, etc. And but there's also a lot of shame around, I'm overweight or I'm out of shape or I can't run a marathon. And a lot of people listen to you or me and they can't relate. And that's why I think, like, doing small things, like you said, even if it's a walk, it's like such a great thing. If I do a walk every day and start out at a quarter mile and then a half mile and then a mile, and then before you know it, maybe I'm doing a 5K. And to me, it's a cinch by the inch. And I live that every single day because my job is super demanding and emotionally demanding. And I have all these emotional trials, like, I'm no good. No one's ever going to buy from me. No one likes me, which all may be true, but it doesn't help me do my job. It's just like what your head says to you on the trail. Like, I can't do it. I'm feeling weak. It's all that same animal brain. And the other
Right.
thing is, like, I can't speak for everyone, but I suspect we're all similar. Like, I'm not that highly evolved. I'm still like a caveman. And so all that stuff that people tell me I should be, like, I should have a thick skin. It shouldn't hurt me when people are mean to me, or dislike me or whatever. They use words like should. And I'm still a very sensitive person. And my theory is that everyone is. And we say stuff to each other that hurts each other and so on and so forth. But the person who hurts me the most is me.
Yeah.
And that's all in my head. And so if I can get out and just go do that walk, I feel like that's an estimable act. And that can make me feel better. That's a thing I can hold on to that makes me feel good. And of course, if I get in the habit of doing estimable acts, then I can feel better and better and better and better all the time. Of course, then we
Yeah.
have to watch out because there's part of us that wants to destroy us too, that wants to eat the Doritos and sit on the couch and never go for a walk ever again, and drink a bottle of bourbon too. So it's really interesting. And I don't know, I feel like everyone feels these feelings and no one talks about it, or it's not often.
I do think the number one reason/excuse that I hear is that people say they don't have time. They don't have the time. And I used to be one of those people. I raised three kids while I was working and going to school. So, time is a premium thing. But if you don't ever make time for you, you're really never the best you that you can be, because everybody needs to have their own thing. And there was a lot of years where I made work and my kids and my husband were my priorities, and that's fine. But, then, and I do think a lot of women do this. They think that spending every minute of their day on their home or their kids or at work being perfect, perfect, perfect makes them the best person that they can be. But, taking 30 minutes out for yourself actually makes you a better you.
I feel that way. I mean, I do it in the extreme. I get
Me
permission,
too.
but but I get
Me too. But
permission.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm older, my
Mm.
kids are gone, so I have lots of
Mm.
time now. But there is definitely a part of me that wishes that I had taken a little bit more time for myself when I was younger too. I would have been
Mm.
happier. And, um, you know, that's the wisdom of age, though.
Mm-hmm. Do you regret not taking the time? I mean, you seem really well adjusted to me.
No, I don't regret it. I just feel like um, I just think it would have been better for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard when you're younger and your kids are young and you do have a lot going on. We have three kids who were in sports and school stuff, and I always say, like, as soon as the kids outnumber the adults, you're doomed because there's only
Mm,
two adults.
mm.
Um, but I do see the young women at work who are starting families and stuff, and they're all in on trying to be perfect. And there's more to life than decorating the outside of your house.
Amen. And that pressure to feel perfect and the shame of not being perfect. And we
Right.
just bludgeon ourselves with these expectations. We say it's societal, and maybe it is. The TV tells me this is who I have to be or whatever, but we're really doing it to ourselves.
Yeah, it's definitely internal.
Yeah. Is there what if we were do you know what the most important punctuation is in the English language? Have we talked about this?
No.
I think it's the
I don't.
hyphen. Do you know why?
It's the start of something.
It's what's between your date of birth and your date of death.
Oh,
It
that's good.
signifies everything. So if we were talking like 30 years from now, if I were talking about you 30 years from now, not that I'll be alive in 30 years, but what would you want
I
people
hope.
to know about you?
Um, I just I don't want to say that I'm greedy about life, but I'm definitely at a point where I want to be greedy about my life. I want to do as many things that I can, see as many things as I can, and learn as much as I can so that when I'm in the last few minutes of my life, I can be exhausted and say, you know what? It has been it's been a good run. I mean, I feel like that now. I've experienced a lot of things, I've seen a lot of things, met incredible people, and you're only here once. So you should really try to do all of the things that you want to do. Something pops into your head, hey, I want to learn how to paint. You know what? Go learn how to paint. If you want to learn how to cook or run a marathon, go run a marathon. People won't laugh at you. People won't admonish you for being slow. They will congratulate you for putting yourself out there and trying to do it. And I think everything is like that. You just have to put yourself out there and try because you never
Agreed.
know. You might learn how to fly an airplane one day and you'll
You
love
can
it.
really do almost anything.
You really can do almost anything.
So I was asked this question that I just asked you in sort of a public forum recently over the summer, like a lot of people listening. And I said, I want to use the tools that God gave me to the fullest extent. Like, I want to go full throttle until the end, and then I want to finish on empty.
Yep.
At the same time, I'd like to have a relationship with my kids and stay married and also do my work. So, physically fit, work, family. Those are my three things. And if I do anything in the extreme, I could lose one or more of those things. Um, but I want to go as close to full throttle as possible without redlining. I think redlining, like I start to feel bad. Like, when you talk about a marathon or a 5K, whatever it is, like I like to have a good experience and I want to run hard, but I don't want my heart rate to go to 200 anymore.
Right.
I
Yeah,
just, I
agreed.
just don't want to do it. I don't need to win. And it's funny
Yeah.
because I was with someone yesterday who said they need to win. And I don't know. I don't need to win anymore. But I do want to
Yeah.
get out there and do the thing, whatever the thing is.
Yeah, me too. And I don't need to win. I don't think I've ever really had the winning mindset. Um, I've been more about the journey
Mm,
and the experience that you can have. And me too. I mean, I have a great relationship with my three kids and we have a lot of fun together. And I think for the most part they get me and they understand me. Um, but yeah, I want to go out tired.
no, no. Well, when I met you, like within minutes, I knew that you were a very interesting person, fascinating, of course. Um, so you met the prerequisites here, but I hope we stay in touch. I'm delighted that we got to talk today, and we've talked a few times in the past. And is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up today?
I don't think so. Thank you for having me. This has been it's been fun. A little soul searching sometimes with the questions that you ask. Um, but yeah, we should definitely
Hmm.
keep in touch.
Terrific. Well, I hope you have a great day and a great Labor Day, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you enjoy the most fascinating podcast in the world, please follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and follow on Apple Podcast.